The clouds hung low over Neo-Athens, their underbellies illuminated by the pulsing neon and holographic displays that adorned the fusion of classical Greek architecture and futuristic technology. Marble columns framed entrances to research centers, while quantum computers hummed within. In 2157, the city had become the epicenter of artificial memory trade, a technological marvel that had transformed human existence in the 20 years since its inception. Dr. Lam Min stood before the expansive window of his laboratory at Mnemosyne Corporation, watching the city's reflection in the glass blend with his own. At 35, he was already one of the world's leading neurologists, though the price of his ambition was etched in the dark circles beneath his eyes and the premature silver strands in his black hair. His slender fingers adjusted the neural interface on his temple, a sleek device that connected him directly to the lab systems. On the holographic display before him, memory sequences flickered, vibrant, electric blue patterns representing human experiences translated into data. Memory transfer complete. Neural mapping stable at 98% integrity, announced the lab's AI assistant. Min nodded absently. These routine transfers had become mundane to him. Wealthy clients purchasing artificial memories of exotic vacations they'd never taken, skills they'd never learned, or emotional experiences they'd never felt. The technology had been revolutionary when it emerged, but like all innovations, it quickly found its way into the hands of the privileged few. Run diagnostic sequence beta on the last transfer, he instructed, turning away from the window. His eyes fell on the small holographic frame on his desk, the only personal item in the sterile laboratory. It displayed a smiling woman with gentle eyes and a carefree laugh that seemed to resonate even through the silent image. Dao, his wife. 5 years gone now. The memory of her was all he had left, preserved and enhanced through the very technology he helped develop. Min's fingers hesitated over the frame. Something had been bothering him lately about his memories of Dao. Subtle inconsistencies, moments that didn't quite align with others. As a scientist, he knew memory was fallible, but these discrepancies felt different, almost manufactured. A notification chimed, interrupting his thoughts. "Dr. Min," came the voice of his supervisor. "The board would like to see you regarding Project Lethe." Project Lethe, the company's most secretive initiative, focused on memory deletion rather than transfer. Min had expressed ethical concerns about the project months ago and found himself gradually removed from its development. "I'll be there shortly," he replied, closing the diagnostic windows. Before leaving, he reached for the memory drive in his pocket, an unauthorized backup of his personal memories of Dao that he'd been analyzing in private. Company policy strictly prohibited personal use of memory technology without oversight. But Min had long since crossed that line. As he walked through the gleaming corridors of Mnemosyne's headquarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong with his most precious memories. And if he couldn't trust the memories of the person he loved most, what could he trust? The meeting with the board was brief and tense. Min stood before 5 executives seated at a semicircular table, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of neural interfaces, far more advanced than the commercial models. "Dr. Min," began Director Nakamura, a stern woman with sharp features. "Your work on neural pathway stabilization has been exemplary, but your continued requests to access Project Lethe files are becoming problematic." Min maintained his composure. "As head of neural integrity, I should have full visibility into all memory manipulation protocols. The separation creates unnecessary risks." "The board disagrees," said Nakamura. "Your expertise is valuable, but your concerns about ethical boundaries are better left to the ethics committee." "An ethics committee that hasn't convened in over a year," Min noted, unable to keep the edge from his voice. The tension in the room thickened. "We've decided to reassign you," Nakamura continued, as if he hadn't spoken. "You'll lead consumer experience development, Your lab access will be adjusted accordingly. A demotion, thinly veiled. Min understood the message clearly. Stop asking questions. He nodded stiffly, knowing argument would only accelerate his removal. As he left the boardroom, his mind was already racing with plans. If the company wouldn't allow him to investigate through official channels, he would have to find another way. That night, in his sparsely furnished apartment high above the city, Min connected his personal neural interface to a modified console he'd built himself. It wasn't as powerful as the lab equipment, but it would suffice for what he needed to do. He inserted the memory drive containing his memories of Tao and initiated a deep scan, looking for digital artifacts that might indicate tampering. Standard memory transfers always left traces. A skilled neurologist could spot them if they knew what to look for. Hours passed as the scan processed. Min paced, occasionally glancing at the sprawling city below, through floor-to-ceiling windows. Neo-Athens never slept. The memory trade had created an entire economy of its own. Behind the legitimate business of Mnemosyne and its competitors lurked a shadow market. Memory brokers who dealt in forbidden experiences. Memories too intimate or illegal to be traded through official channels. The console chimed. Min rushed to view the results, his heart pounding. The analysis confirmed his suspicions. His memories of Tao's final days had been altered. Subtle changes in conversation. Emotional responses that didn't match his peripheral memories of the same events. Most concerning was a complete gap surrounding her death, filled with what appeared to be synthesized memory fragments. Who would do this? He whispered to the empty room. And why? The answer had to lie somewhere in Project Lethe, or in Tao's connection to Mnemosyne. Before her death, she had worked in the company's legal department, handling intellectual property disputes. Min had always believed her death was the result of a tragic accident, a neural interface malfunction during a routine memory backup. Now, he wasn't sure what to believe. He needed help, someone who could navigate the underground memory trade, someone who might have access to information Mnemosyne kept hidden. He needed a broker. The lower markets of Neo-Athens existed physically, beneath the gleaming towers and classical facades of the upper city. Here, in narrow alleys lit by flickering holograms and strings of bare bulbs, the unofficial economy thrived. Vendors sold everything from black market neural enhancers to street food cooked on ancient propane stoves. Min felt painfully conspicuous in his simple gray clothing, designed to help him blend in, but achieving the opposite effect. His careful posture and clean-cut appearance marked him immediately as an outsider. He followed directions he'd received through an anonymous messaging system, making his way to a shop with a sign displaying a stylized human brain intersected by a lightning bolt, the universal symbol of memory brokers. The interior was cluttered with outdated technology and mysterious artifacts. Behind a counter of scarred wood stood a young woman with sharp eyes and hair dyed in shifting colors that seemed to change with the angle of light. Multiple neural interfaces adorned her temples, some clearly custom-built. "You're lost. Corporate," she said without looking up from the device she was modifying. "I'm looking for Thao," Min replied, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. The woman's eyes flicked up, assessing him with new interest. "Nobody comes looking for Thao by name unless they're in serious trouble or offering serious money." She set down her tools. "Which is it?" "Both, potentially." A smile flickered across her face. "Then you found her. I'm Thao. What does a Mnemosyne neurologist want with a memory broker?" Min concealed his surprise that she had identified his employer. "I need information about memory manipulation techniques that wouldn't be documented in official channels." "Dangerous questions," Thao replied, leaning forward. "The kind that get people killed or worse. I believe some of my memories have been tampered with. Personal memories. I need to know who could have done it and how to reverse it." Thao studied him for a long moment. "You understand that helping you puts me at risk? Mnemosyne doesn't appreciate brokers meddling with their scientists. I can pay, Min said, reaching for his digital wallet. She waved away the gesture. Not interested in your traceable corporate credits, but there is something you could do for me. She lowered her voice. I need access to Mnemosyne's central memory repository. Just 45 seconds of high-level access. That's impossible. The security is designed by humans and can be bypassed by humans. She interrupted. You have the clearance. I have the method. Together, we might both get what we want. Min hesitated. What she was suggesting would certainly cost him his job if discovered, possibly his freedom. But the altered memories of Tao haunted him. He needed answers. What exactly are you looking for in the repository? Thao's expression hardened. Client confidentiality works both ways. Dr. Min, let's just say there are memories being stored there that belong to people who never consented to the process. The implications were disturbing. Min had always believed in Mnemosyne's ethical guidelines. Despite recent doubts, the idea that the company might be harvesting memories without consent was almost unthinkable, yet somehow unsurprising, given what he'd discovered about his own memories. I'll help you, he decided. But I need to understand what happened to my memories first. Thao nodded. We'll start with a deep analysis of your memory drive. Not here. I have a proper lab hidden where Mnemosyne's security can't reach. Come back tomorrow night. Bring the drive and anything else you've discovered. As Min turned to leave, she called after him. And doctor, watch your neural interface. Mnemosyne has ways of monitoring their employees through those things. Best to disconnect it when you're not at work. The warning sent a chill through him. He had never considered that the technology he helped develop might be used to spy on him. As he made his way back through the lower markets, he felt the weight of countless eyes, human and electronic, following his every move. Returning to his apartment, Min methodically swept for surveillance devices, finding 3 sophisticated bugs hidden in innocuous objects. Company standard procedure, he realized bitterly, not placed specifically for him, but for all high-level employees. He left them intact. Removing them would only trigger an alert, but created a white noise barrier around his workspace. That night, he couldn't sleep. Instead, he pored over Tao's personnel files that he'd kept after her death. Her work in the legal department had focused on protecting Mnemosyne's memory transfer technology, particularly from competitors in the Asian and European markets. In the weeks before her death, she had been involved in a major case against a rival corporation. A notification on his personal tablet interrupted his research. An anonymous message. Text only. Memory alteration leaves traces in the hypothalamic region. Look for anomalies in gamma wave patterns. T. Min immediately returned to his console, running a new scan focused on the parameters Thao had suggested. The results came back quickly this time. Distinct abnormalities in the memory patterns associated with his final conversations with Tao. Not just editing, but wholesale replacement of entire emotional responses. By morning, exhaustion clouded his thinking, but his resolve had only strengthened. At the lab, he maintained a facade of compliance, focusing on the consumer experience projects he'd been assigned. But during his lunch break, he accessed a secure terminal and quietly downloaded information about Project Lethi's neural mapping protocols. As he was completing the download, a message appeared on his screen. Security scan initiated. Please remain at your terminal. Min's heart raced. He quickly transferred the files to a biometric locked drive and cleared his access logs using an administrator override he wasn't supposed to have. By the time security personnel arrived at his lab, he was calmly working on consumer experience simulations. Dr. Min, said the security officer, a tall man with implants visible at his temples and wrists. We detected unauthorized access to restricted files from this terminal. Min looked up with practiced confusion. That's strange. I've only been working on the sensory enhancement models all morning. He gestured to his display. Could it be a system error? The officer's eyes narrowed, but after scanning the terminal and finding no evidence of the breach, he reluctantly departed, with a warning about reporting any system anomalies. That evening, Min took elaborate precautions before returning to the lower markets. He left his official neural interface at home, using a basic commercial model instead. He changed his route several times and used public transportation rather than his personal vehicle. Thao was waiting in her shop, but this time she simply nodded toward a back door. "Follow me. Bring only what you need." She led him through a maze of narrow corridors and down several flights of stairs until they reached what appeared to be an abandoned subway station, repurposed into a sophisticated laboratory. Equipment, both new and salvaged, filled the space, and multiple security systems glowed at the entrances. "Welcome to where the real memory work happens," Thao said, gesturing around the space. No corporate oversight, no ethical review boards, just pure research into what the human mind can truly do. "It's impressive," Min admitted, taking in the scope of the operation. "How did you build all this?" "One piece at a time, over many years." She moved to a central console. "I wasn't always a broker. I was a neuroscience researcher at the University of Southeast Asia before Namasini bought the entire department and shelved our research for conflicting with their business model." This revelation shifted Min's perception of her. Not just a black market dealer, but a scientist forced underground by corporate interests, not unlike his current situation. "Let's see what they did to your memories," Thao said, connecting his drive to her system. For hours, they analyzed the memory fragments. Thao's expertise complemented his own, her practical knowledge of memory architecture filling gaps in his more theoretical understanding. "These alterations are sophisticated," she said, finally, pointing to a complex pattern on the display. "Neural remapping at this level requires resources only a few entities possess. Namasan, obviously, maybe 3 or 4 competitors. And then there's Kenta." "Kenta?" Thao's expression darkened. "Kenta Mori, officially. He's a technology investor and philanthropist. Unofficially, he's the largest client of an organization called Memory Traders." "I've never heard of them." "Few have, by design. They're the elite tier of memory brokers, dealing exclusively with the ultra-wealthy." She brought up a new display showing a middle-aged Japanese man with severe features and calculating eyes. "Mori purchases more memories than anyone else on the planet. Some say he's trying to achieve a form of immortality by collecting enough human experiences." Min studied the image. "What's his connection to Minamazani?" "He's one of their major shareholders, though through shell companies and proxies. More importantly, he has deep connections in their security division." Thao hesitated. "There's a rumor that he has a personal interest in Project Lethe, that he's funding it privately." The pieces began to connect in Min's mind. If Dao discovered something about his involvement while working in legal, he could have ordered her memory altered, or worse. Thao finished the thought. "But to alter your memories of her, too. That suggests whatever she knew was significant enough to warrant extraordinary measures." Min felt a cold determination settling over him. "I need to know what she discovered and what happened to her." "Then we need to access Namazani's secure repositories," Thao said. "And to do that, we'll need to get you back into their inner sanctum." She gave him a calculating look. "How comfortable are you with breaking several international laws?" Despite the gravity of the situation, Min found himself smiling grimly. "At this point, that seems to be the least of my concerns." Over the next week, Min maintained his cover at Namasini while secretly working with Thao to prepare for their infiltration. He provided detailed information about the company's security systems, while she developed methods to bypass them. They established a secure communication channel using obsolete technology that modern surveillance systems typically overlooked. Meanwhile, Min began experiencing headaches and disorientation. Side effects, Thao explained, of his continued probing of the altered memories. The human brain wasn't designed to reconcile conflicting memory patterns, especially when aware of the conflict. Your mind is trying to integrate memories it knows are false, she told him during one of their planning sessions. It's like an autoimmune response, but cognitive. Your consciousness is attacking the foreign elements. Can you stop it? He asked, massaging his temples. Not without removing the altered memories entirely, which would defeat our purpose. She handed him a small device. This neural stabilizer should help manage the symptoms. But it's temporary. We need to move quickly. Their plan crystallized around Namazine's upcoming quarterly security update, a 4-minute window when the memory repositories would be more vulnerable than usual. Min would use his credentials to access the system legitimately, while Thao deployed custom software to create a hidden backdoor. But, as the day approached, complications arose. Min noticed increased security presence at Namazine headquarters. His lab access was further restricted, and his supervisor began requesting more frequent progress reports. They suspect something, he told Thao during a hurried meeting in a crowded public market, where surveillance was difficult. Security scanned my neural interface twice this week. We need to accelerate our timeline, she replied, pretending to examine produce while they talked. Can you get access to the central server room tomorrow night? Possibly, but the risks are already at maximum, she interrupted. Kenta's people have been asking questions in the lower markets. They know someone's been digging into his connection to memory traders. Min felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Tomorrow, then, I'll create a diversion in the neural mapping lab to draw security away from the server room. That night, he returned to his apartment to find the door slightly ajar. Heart pounding. He approached cautiously, listening for any sound from within. Silence. He pushed the door open slowly. The apartment had been methodically searched. Every drawer opened, every device examined. On his workstation screen, a message glowed. Cease investigation. Final warning. Instead of frightening him, the threat crystallized his resolve. He quickly gathered essential items, including the memory drive with Dao's unaltered memories, and left the apartment. He would not be returning. The following evening, Min arrived at Namazine headquarters earlier than usual, citing work on a time-sensitive project. In his lab, he prepared the diversion, a controlled overload of the neural mapping systems that would trigger alarms without causing permanent damage. At precisely 21:47, he initiated the overload sequence and moved quickly toward the central server room. Security personnel rushed past him toward the lab, just as planned. Using his emergency override credentials, he gained access to the server room and quickly located the maintenance terminal. I'm in, he whispered into the communication device concealed in his collar. Connecting now, came Thao's voice. You'll have 3 minutes once I start the transfer. Get to the memory archives and find anything related to Dao or Project Lethe. Min navigated through the system with practiced efficiency, bypassing security protocols using the administrative access he'd maintained. He located the secure memory repository and began searching for files connected to Dao. What he found chilled him to the core. Not just records of her work, but complete neural scans taken without her knowledge. Surveillance disguised as routine neural health monitoring. The final scan, dated the day of her death, contained extensive memory fragments that had been quarantined and marked for deletion. Working frantically, he copied these files while continuing to search for Project Lethe information. In a heavily encrypted subdirectory, he found what appeared to be client lists, wealthy individuals whose memories had been selectively modified. Among them, Kenta Mori appeared multiple times, always associated with a cryptic designation, Longevity Protocol. 60 seconds, Thao warned in his ear. Min was about to disconnect when a final file caught his attention. A legal brief Dao had been preparing before her death. He copied it instantly, then terminated the connection. Security's heading back to the server room, Thao said urgently. Get out now. Min erased all traces of his access and was halfway to the door when it slid open, revealing the security officer who had questioned him earlier, accompanied by 2 armed guards. Dr. Min, the officer said, his expression cold. I'm afraid I need to escort you to the security office. Min knew resistance would only confirm their suspicions. He nodded calmly, allowing them to lead him away from the server room. His mind raced, calculating options. The data had already been transmitted to Thao. His physical capture wouldn't prevent her from analyzing it. In the security office, a stark room with neural dampening fields that prevented any outside communication. Min faced Director Nakamura and a man he recognized from Thao's files, Kenta Mori himself. Dr. Min, Mori said, his voice surprisingly gentle despite the hardness in his eyes. I understand you've been investigating matters beyond your clearance level. I was conducting authorized neural mapping research, Min replied evenly. Let's not waste time with denials. Nakamura cut in. We know you've been accessing restricted files and communicating with a known memory broker. The only question is why. Min met her gaze. I discovered discrepancies in my personal memories. Specifically, memories of my late wife. As a neurologist, I was professionally obligated to investigate. Your wife's death was thoroughly investigated, Mori said, his tone sympathetic but his eyes calculating. A tragic accident during a routine procedure. The company provided generous compensation. The company altered my memories of her, Min said flatly, watching their reactions. Nakamura's expression remained impassive, but Mori's eyes narrowed slightly. Confirmation enough. I want to know why. Your accusations are serious and unfounded, Nakamura replied. However, given your contributions to the company, we're prepared to be lenient. A period of neural realignment therapy, followed by reassignment to our research facility in Antarctica. The implication was clear: forced memory modification to eliminate his suspicions, followed by effective exile. And if I refuse? Mori smiled thinly. Then we would be forced to pursue more severe options. Memory theft is a serious crime. Dr. Min, the penalties are substantial. Before Min could respond, the lights flickered. The security systems chimed a warning, then fell silent. The neural dampening field wavered. What's happening? Nakamura demanded, turning to the security officer. Unknown system intrusion, he replied, checking his neural interface. Multiple security protocols failing simultaneously. Min suppressed a smile. Thao had mentioned a contingency plan if he was captured, but he hadn't expected something this dramatic. The building's emergency alert system activated, announcing in a calm, automated voice, Biohazard containment breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Chaos ensued. Security personnel rushed to contain the non-existent breach, while executives hurried toward the emergency exits. In the confusion, Min slipped away, making his way not toward the exits, but deeper into the building, toward the memory preservation vaults where the most valuable and sensitive memories were physically stored. He had one chance to find concrete evidence of what had happened to Dao, and he intended to take it. The memory preservation vault was a massive room, maintained at precisely 4 degrees Celsius, filled with quantum storage units that contained backed-up memories too valuable or sensitive to risk on the main network. Using the temporary credentials Thao had transmitted during the security breach, Min gained access and quickly located the section containing executive-level backups. Time was critical. The false evacuation would buy him minutes at most before security realized the deception and locked down the building. He connected his neural interface directly to the storage system, searching for files related to Kenta Mori and the longevity protocol. What he found exceeded his worst fears. The longevity protocol wasn't merely a memory preservation system. It was a complete neural transfer mechanism. Mori and other ultra-wealthy clients weren't just collecting memories. They were preparing to transfer their complete consciousness into younger bodies when their original bodies failed. And the source of these recipient bodies chilled Min to his core. Artificially grown human clones, cultivated without higher brain functions, but physically perfect. The ultimate expression of immortality for those who could afford it. Dao must have discovered this program through her legal work. The files indicated she had been preparing documentation for a global ethics committee when her accident occurred. As Min processed this horrifying revelation, he heard the vault door opening behind him. He turned to find Kenta Mori standing there alone, a neural disruptor aimed at Min's head. "I suspected you might come here," Mori said calmly. "A scientist's curiosity is so predictable." "You killed her," Min said, his voice shaking with rage. "You killed Dao because she discovered your immortality scheme." "I prefer to think of it as evolutionary advancement," Mori replied. "Natural selection has always favored those with resources and vision. But yes, your wife became a liability. Her death was regrettable but necessary." "And altering my memories of her?" "A courtesy, actually. We could have eliminated you as well. But your work was too valuable. The altered memories were meant to be a kindness, to spare you the pain of her final days and the questions that would have arisen." Min's hand moved slowly toward the neural interface, still connected to the storage system. "There's nothing kind about stealing someone's authentic memories, no matter how painful they might be." "A philosophical position, Dr. Min. One that luxury affords." Mori stepped closer, the neural disruptor unwavering. "Now, I face a similar decision with you. Your knowledge makes you dangerous, but your brilliance makes you valuable. I'm offering you a choice. Join the Longevity Protocol as a lead researcher, with wealth and eventually immortality as your reward, or share your wife's fate." In that moment, Min's fingers found the command he was searching for, a complete system transmission to the coordinates Thao had programmed. Every file, every record of the Longevity Protocol and Memory Trader's operations began uploading to servers beyond Namasan's reach. "You're assuming I care about my own survival," Min said, staring defiantly at Mori. "But what I care about is the truth, and now the world will know it too." Mori's expression shifted from confidence to alarm as he noticed the data transfer indicators on the storage system. He raised the neural disruptor, but hesitated. Killing Min wouldn't stop the transmission already in progress. "You have no idea what you've done," Mori said, his composed facade cracking. "The economic collapse this will cause, the lives that will be destroyed when Namasani falls." "No technology built on lies and murder deserves to survive," Min replied. "Dao knew that. She died for it. I can do no less." The vault door burst open again, this time revealing Thao, accompanied by several figures wearing the distinct armor of technology enforcement officers. "Kenta Mori," announced the lead officer. "You're under arrest for illegal memory trafficking, unauthorized human cloning, and conspiracy to commit murder." As the officers moved to apprehend Mori, he made a desperate lunge toward Min, the neural disruptor discharging. Min felt a searing pain as the energy pulse grazed his temple. Then darkness claimed him. When Min regained consciousness, he was in an unfamiliar room, medical equipment monitoring his vital signs. Thao sat nearby, her expression a mixture of relief and concern when she noticed he was awake. "Welcome back," she said. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." Min's head throbbed with pain, but his thoughts were surprisingly clear. "Mori?" "In custody, along with most of Namazani's executive board. The evidence you transmitted was comprehensive." She smiled grimly. "The Memory Trader's operation has been exposed globally. Enforcement agencies on 3 continents are dismantling their networks." Min tried to sit up, wincing at the effort. "And the Longevity Protocol?" "Shut down. The cloning facilities have been seized. It's over, Min. Her expression softened. We also found the original, unaltered memories of Tao that had been archived before they were removed from your mind. Once you're stronger, we can begin the restoration process if you want. The thought of experiencing Tao's final days, her discovery of the truth, her fear, perhaps even her death, was both terrifying and essential. Those memories, however painful, were part of their shared truth. I want them back, he said firmly. All of them. In the weeks that followed, global outcry over the memory traders scandal led to sweeping regulatory changes for memory technology. Namasan Corporation collapsed under criminal investigations and public outrage. Its assets seized and technologies placed under international oversight. Min underwent the delicate process of memory restoration, reclaiming the unaltered experiences of his life with Tao, including the heartbreaking final days when she had confided her discoveries to him and they had planned to expose the truth together. The pain was excruciating, but clarifying. He had been her confidant and partner in seeking justice, not merely a grieving widower kept in the dark. With Thao's help, he evaded the remnants of Kenta's organization who sought revenge. They relocated to a small community outside Neo-Athens, where Min established a clinic focused on helping victims of memory manipulation. Thao used her underground connections to identify those in need, bringing them to Min for treatment. One evening, 6 months after the collapse of memory traders, Min stood in the small garden he had planted behind their clinic. Among the flowers grew a particular variety of jasmine that had been Tao's favorite. As twilight settled over Neo-Athens in the distance, the city's lights reflecting against low clouds, he felt a sense of completion that had eluded him for years. The sound of footsteps announced Thao's approach. She had abandoned her broker persona, now wearing simpler clothing and fewer neural interfaces, though she maintained the shifting colors in her hair as a reminder of her past. Inspector Yen called, she said, joining him in the garden. The International Tribunal has reached a verdict. Mori and the others will spend the rest of their lives in a maximum security facility, with neural dampening fields to prevent any attempt at consciousness transfer. Min nodded, gently touching a jasmine blossom. Justice of a sort. You don't sound satisfied, Thao observed. I was thinking about memory, how we cling to it, try to preserve it, even commercialize it. He looked up at the darkening sky. But memory isn't meant to be perfect or permanent. Its fragility is what makes it precious, says the man who fought to restore his memories exactly as they were. Thao noted with a small smile. Not because they were perfect, but because they were real. Min turned to face her. The memory traders offered immortality through technology, but they missed the point entirely. We achieve a kind of immortality through the authentic connections we make, the truths we share, the love we give, even when it's painful, even when it's lost. Thao considered this, then reached into her pocket and withdrew a small, holographic projector. I've been saving this for when you were ready. It's from Tao's personal files, something the authorities recovered from Namazani's archives. She activated the device. A small hologram of Tao appeared, her expression serious but determined, clearly recorded shortly before her death. Min, if you're seeing this, then I was right about the risks. The hologram began. I've discovered something terrible at the heart of Namasani, something that violates everything we believe about human dignity and choice. I'm taking the evidence to the Global Ethics Committee tomorrow, but I've arranged for this message to reach you if anything happens to me. Min watched, transfixed, as his wife's image continued. Whatever happens, remember that what makes us human isn't the sum of our memories, but the choices we make with them. Don't let them take that from you, and know that every moment we shared was real and true. They can never take that away, even if they try to alter your memories of me. The hologram flickered, showing Tao's hesitation before she added, I love you, Min, that truth exists beyond memory. As the hologram faded, Min felt tears on his cheeks, but also a profound sense of peace. He had recovered the truth, exposed the corruption, and honored Dao's courage. The price had been high, but the authentic memory of her love, not an idealized artificial version, was worth every sacrifice. In the garden outside Neo-Athens, as night fell and the jasmine released its sweet fragrance, Min finally accepted that some memories weren't meant to last forever, but the truth they contained was immortal in its own way.